Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Good afternoon. This is Jody Lowe with the Leadership Lowdown, powered by UN Improved and Conscious Capitalism Arizona. Leadership Lowdown is a radio series dedicated to shining a spotlight on Valley business leaders and sharing the real stories behind their rise to the top. We want to know the truth about what it takes to truly succeed in life and in business. And we're here to uncover these leaders' journeys, whether it's the pitfalls, the victories, or all of the heartaches and triumphs in between. And today I am thrilled to be sitting across from two very successful gentlemen in their own right, Mr. Chris Baker, who is the president of Creative Printing and Packaging. Welcome.
Thanks, Jody. Thanks for having me on.
Happy to have you here. And then we have Mr. Dan Saban, who is the COO, Chief Operating Officer or Operations Officer of Anderson Security Agency. So welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you both here. So the whole premise of this show is to be able to learn from you, learn from all of your wisdom and your experience. So let's start with you, Chris, and hear a little bit about this whole journey to where you are today. And knowing you personally, I know a little bit that it was a smooth sailing. There's never been a bump in the road. It's been easy breezy since 1994. Is that right? Did I get that right?
That's right, man. 1994 it started.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. Lots of ups and downs still to this day. It's it's never easy. You got to keep going. I think perseverance is the key to any success. You got to just stay at it.
Yeah. So tell us, how did you get into this crazy world? Did you, was this a at birth thing? Like, hey, I think I want to go into, printing and packaging.
No. I started off selling investments in Dallas. I sold mutual funds and annuities, but I always wanted my own business from the time I was a little guy.
Okay.
So, when it came time, I kind of had a list of criteria of what I wanted because I didn't really have a specific skill.
Okay.
I have an accounting degree from the University of Arizona, but basically, I had a list of criteria, and printing kind of hit everything. So,
yeah.
So it started that way. We did a bunch of acquisitions in the 90s, and we've come a long way. We're more of a packaging company today. Just that's a longer story, but print is kind of a challenge space. So we've had to reach out and find some new markets, and packaging's been really good to us lately.
Yeah, doing things differently. So what were some of the criteria on that list then?
I wanted 9 to 5. I didn't want to borrow a restaurant. I wanted B2B. I wasn't interested in working directly with consumers. I loved manufacturing.
Okay.
So kind of printing, I found it at a business show in Dallas and interviewed a bunch of printing company owners, and it just kind of checked all the boxes. Yeah.
And so your journey from everything you've shared with me, off the mic, started with printing, and then it has evolved. So share a little bit about what it is you do today, because when people hear packaging, they sometimes think of like tape and, wrap and I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. The name denotes a lot of different things, but we're really a folding carton manufacturer.
Okay.
So if you open up your pantry tonight, cereal boxes, a lot of food products, cosmetics, supplements, vitamins, doing a lot, believe it or not, in the THC, the medical marijuana space today. Yep. It's printing. It all starts on a flat sheet. We just had to purchase some other equipment, which is more in the finishing side. Had to buy another building. But today it's about 80% of our revenue. So it's
so dramatic.
In 5
shift.
years, it's really transitioned.
Yeah. So what was the reason for the shift 5 years ago?
In 2014, I tell the story. I woke up in a cold sweat one night, and I realized that we had grown since the recession, but only about 12%. We were doing 4 times as many projects as we once were. I was killing my team, and the team is really what's gotten us here. So that wasn't going to be sustainable.
Sure.
And really through a series of fortuitous events, I found the packaging industry. There was a large company that was closing their doors here in Phoenix, so we were able to hire a team of people.
Oh, great.
And they really, really helped us. Shout out to those guys for really, really helping us in the early days get to where we are.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about that transition, because when you are one thing and then you have to, ideate who you are now moving forward. What was that like for you internally? What was that process like?
Huge learning curve. I thought it'd be much easier than it has turned out to be. It seems so similar to what we were doing. But as we look back and the pitfalls and the mistakes we made, we've learned. It's been an incredible journey.
Yeah.
But it was much, much harder than we anticipated. But super glad we went through the process because we feel like we're ahead of the curve at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for you making that transition and going into really a new space, if you will. I mean, similar but new. What was that like in terms of attaining new clients? And, was that something that also came with the folks? Was there some existing clientele to start with, or was this really a fresh start?
There was a couple of clients that came with that acquisition, if you will. But what's really different is the clients are different. We're looking for manufacturers. We're really a partner as opposed to just the printer guy. We used to say, we'd come in and Joe down the hall had a marketing idea and we would, print X number of brochures. Today we're part of their plan. They let us know because without our product, they can't put their products on the shelves or sell them through Amazon or wherever they sell their products. So the client acquisition, we go to a lot of packaging shows. It's not really the same, marketing where we're walking and knocking on doors and trying to find people. It's a little more targeted.
Yeah. And so for you personally, as the owner of this business and sharing the cold sweat story, what was that like for you walking into a whole new space? And what was like the mental process of that like?
It didn't start off to where I thought this would take over. I thought it would just be a lot of folks in my industry at the time were trying to find other, product angles. So I just thought it would be a complementary product.
Just another vertical within the business.
And so 80%, 5 years later is the crazy part. When I look at the numbers, I'm just blown away at how fast it's taken over.
Isn't that incredible? So do you think where you are today, is there yet another vertical to come, or are you thinking, my gosh, let's just keep being stellar in the space we're in?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Never say never.
Hard to
look at all your opportunities and, never close a door too early.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that when you were a young child, you kind of knew you wanted to be an entrepreneur. Where did that stem from? Was that just something internal, or did you grow up in an entrepreneurial family?
It comes from one of my dad's best friends was a really successful small business owner, and my dad was a banker. Worked here at the Arizona Bank for years, and he was a 9-to-5 guy. He was home. We'd go on vacation. But his buddy just there was a sex appeal to it. He seemed to have toys and time off, and for some reason, as a little guy, that kind of resonated with me.
Interesting.
We'd borrow their pickup truck or whatever, and to a little guy, that's kind of cool.
So. Yeah. Like I want some of that stuff, that time, and the toys.
And I ended up going on and working for him in high school and some college summers. So. Seeing it up close and personal was kind of cool.
Yeah. So would you say that what you've experienced as an entrepreneur through since 1994 and beyond is what you dreamed it would be, or very different than what you thought, or?
I guess at my age, looking back, it's pretty awesome to have achieved what we've achieved. No, I mean, the journey is never, I think, as easy as it appears in your mind when you're looking at it ahead of time. But but it's been satisfying. It's been hard. It's been I tell my wife all the time, the highs are higher and the lows are lower. Yep. But I wouldn't do anything different.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite aspect of entrepreneurship that's been the driving force when the times have gotten tough?
Developing teammates is great. I know Dan hasn't had a chance to talk yet, but out in the lobby we were talking about the next generation. That's a real challenge. How we motivate that generation and how we connect with the differences that we have age wise. But I think. Being responsible for people, that's a big
driving force. Yeah. Sure. And for you, in terms of bringing in the millennials, the younger generations, is there something that you do as an organization in terms of like the team building or the training or development of your people then?
It's an ongoing challenge.
Yeah.
It's every day is different. It's just very different. It's very challenging. And, but at some point, I think all of, any business that's out there right now is going to have to, take these two generations or three and really meld them together.
Well, and for one of the first times, you've got three generations that are really actively working together. Right. So that's a unique, I guess, challenge and thing to navigate, for lack of a better word. So, and now for you, you mentioned that you had this gentleman in your life that you sort of maybe looked up to or emulated or thought, gosh, that's something I aspire to. Would you say that was the person that mentored you in your business, or have you had people along the way that have really shown you the ropes?
Oh, totally. No, I mean, I've had many. I mean, my dad was a big mentor also. I think seeing different sides. But absolutely, I've talked to this individual to this day. Actually, he just sold his company a couple of summers ago, and it's been neat. He's I know he's been proud of what we've done, and absolutely, he was a lot of mentors though. Family, friends, my dad again.
Yeah.
Lots of mentors.
And is that something that you find yourself in that role now? Are you a mentor to other up and coming entrepreneurs or folks?
Yeah, it's interesting. We just had a young guy at our house this weekend who's going through some challenges, and it is weird. Life goes fast.
Right.
And, you go from the mentee to the mentor.
Yeah.
It's odd.
Someone just told me recently, and I think it was more under the context of being a parent, which I know you can also relate to. But the days are short, but the days are long, but the years are short.
Yeah.
And it is truly a blink of an eye. And all of a sudden, you're sitting in the mentor seat thinking, my gosh, I feel like I'm your age, yet I'm not. I just turned 47, and I remember thinking, I feel 27, and that's not, when you start realizing you can be people's parents and you feel like you're the same age, it gets to be a little crazy. So, and so for you, obviously you have children of your own.
Do.
And how does that role work in terms of being an entrepreneur and running a company and being a dad and being a husband? What's that juggle been like for you?
Well, my daughter couldn't get through accounting, in college this past year, so that was kind of funny. Here I was, an accountant, and so they're different, but they're all great kids. I've got a junior up at NAU and a senior at Centennial and an 8th grader, but they're, they know what I do. I think my youngest is probably the one that's most proud, but maybe because she's, sweet and young still. Teenagers don't care as much,
right?
But no, I think I've been a good role model to them, and,
sure.
and hopefully, someday, you never know. You don't know what the future is if they'll join us someday,
right?
But who knows?
Yeah. How do you know, right? It always changes.
Yeah.
So for your company and in your space, is it a very competitive market, or are there lots of folks doing what you do? Or
yeah, the print business is certainly
sure.
extremely competitive. The packaging is not as much. There's not as many people in the space.
Okay.
It's a crazy business. Our largest customer is out of Finland.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we've got a big customer in Florida. We've got customers all over the country. So we're no longer competing, just in the Phoenix or the Arizona space. It's
right.
really all over the place.
Right. And as you're acquiring these new clients and retaining them, is there something that you've seen that's just worked very well in terms of retaining your great clients, or something that sets you apart from the others out there in that space? Yeah,
I think, speed today is really the name of the game. The world moves at a very fast pace.
Mm-hmm.
When we first entered this space, the turn times were 6 to 8 weeks,
yeah.
and we came in thinking we could do it in 3 weeks. Now it seems to be shorter than that.
Wow.
But speed, our nimble, approach. I'm the owner. I don't have any partners.
Right.
The buck stops with me.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of my teammates has autonomy, and getting the job done right first time, getting it done in a time frame that works for the client is key.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you find yourself telling your daughters or children, employees, that were sort of words of wisdom that were shared with you when you were kind of an up and comer?
Never give up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably, if my kids have ever heard me say anything a lot, it's that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think perseverance in business, or really anything.
Yeah.
It's easy to give up, but if you never give up, you never know what's around the corner.
Absolutely. Well, thank goodness you didn't, and you're here today to tell
Still
us about
going
it.
at it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's wonderful. And how about you, Dan? Share with us a little bit about you and your amazing story. You're telling us a little bit of a start in the government and a complete redirect.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, how do you follow that? It was an amazing story, so inspirational.
Yeah.
And that's what you love, is hearing everybody's journey.
Absolutely.
Because the journey is different for us all, but yet there's a theme throughout it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I came by this opportunity a whole different way.
Okay,
tell us. Here. I started off, I'm blue collar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm third generation native Arizonan. My grandfather immigrated here to work in the copper mines. My dad worked in the copper mines. I was going to work in the copper mines. And after high school, I was so excited to operate heavy equipment. And I wanted to be a owner operator, have my own dump truck and backhoe, and total blue collar. And the copper industry just died when I got out of high school in 75. And there was no work. There was no construction. There was no mining. Everything changed. And I was sitting in a restaurant in Miami, Arizona, where I was born.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a native, it's Miami.
Yeah.
It's next to Glob. It's very much the ASU U of A rivalry. And,
right.
and I will pray for you, sir.
I'm in Dan's boat on this one. I'm with you. Sun Devil through and through.
So
Sorry.
We had just left of course, my dad walked me into the mining headquarters. I was 19 years old, and this is my son, and he's going to be the next miner. And they said, we can't, there's just no work.
Right.
And they were only hiring journeymen. So we were quite devastated. My dad was devastated. I was devastated. So we're sitting in the restaurant, just kind of eating breakfast and just crying in our milk, I guess. And
right.
My cousin was a highway patrolman, stopped by, came in there on a break to get coffee. Hey, what are you guys doing in here? Oh, we just came from the mines. And my cousin Skip said, no, you don't want to be a miner. You want to be a cop. It's 40 hours a week. You get a retirement after 20 years, all these benefits. And, I had hair down to my shoulders.
Sure.
I didn't even have a gun.
Right.
And that just wasn't a part of my profile.
Right.
And so at the time I was living in Mesa. I was born in Miami, but pretty much raised in Mesa. And on the drive back to the city, I thought, well, it's 40 hours a week. They're hiring everywhere. I've never been in trouble.
Yeah.
So I applied and I got hired on the police department.
There you go.
I spent the next 32 years of my career. It was an amazing transition. I fell in love with it immediately. I was looking just for a place to hang out and get 40 hours a week, and then I'll go back to being in construction. And it was ironic because all my high school friends that stuck it out and hung in there and became involved in construction, I would go work with them on my days off because I still had that in me. I didn't do the typical off-duty cop stuff,
right?
Work the football games or direct traffic. I wanted to go work construction, so I did concrete work.
Oh my gosh.
And that kind of kept me balanced. It actually helped me in my career to keep things in perspective. And then after I retired, I made it all the way to police chief. I had a chance to work every division, undercover. I was a motor officer. I was on SWAT. I did it all. I just had this amazingly blessed career.
All from a conversation.
From my cousin. And on a sad note, ironically, in 2001, he was killed on duty. That was tough because he's the one that, convinced me to have this amazing career.
Certainly.
But it was meant to be. So, he was a great guy and served us very well. And we were very proud of that. But after I retired, I kind of during my professional government work, I always thought, when you get to that highest level, it's about leadership and people and, it should work anywhere. And I used to sit in staff meetings, those boring staff meetings at the top level and said, look out the window and go, I bet I could walk into Intel right now and run that place. And I've never looked in a microscope or put a chip together because I knew it was about the people.
Yep.
And in the police business, we transitioned. When I first started in the 70s, most of the police officers just got back from Vietnam, combat veterans, tough guys and women. Very few women, but it was very much, we're the cops, you're the citizens, go back in the house, we'll take care of it. So it's very standoffish, and we'll take care of this because that's who we are. Well, in the 80s, it started to transition to community policing, and, we're more touchy-feely, and we need the help of the community to solve crimes and to work together and partnering. And that transitioned us into the whole business side of law enforcement because, think about it. Police service is a service. We provide you a service.
Sure.
We try to keep you safe. We try to solve your crime. We try to keep you from being a victim. It's a service, but it's never equated to a profit. So at that point, police departments kind of transitioned into total quality management, paradigm shifts, Tom Peters, the whole bit. And I bit right on that.
Yeah.
I said, whoa, that makes sense. Yeah. Citizens are really our customers. And internally, we're here to serve them.
Yeah.
That true servant leadership mentality. And I just hooked into that and never looked back. And the old timers just kind of fell off, and
that was that.
I was part of that new breed.
There you go. There you go. And then how did that then transition into what you do today? Because Anderson Security obviously is in the same realm of keeping people safe and protected. But how did your career go? And
it's funny because people just assume because you have a law enforcement background, you know about security. It's really two different things.
Sure.
It's funny how it's automatic that's a natural fit, and it really isn't because it is a business. You're providing a service. It's client-based. It's contractually based. The profit and loss, there's so many aspects of that I wasn't quite ready for. And when I first got into the private sector after I retired, quite honestly, that profit and loss, I saw some things I didn't feel comfortable with. There was some things that were challenging, from ethics and integrity. And, I come from a world that's your whole life. You take an oath and you swear there's no compromise.
Yeah.
You're going to do it the right way. And I saw how the greed, in a bad way. So I kind of got away from it. I thought, this ain't for me. So I started doing consulting and I started doing my own, had my own business because it was something I wanted to try, to be my own boss, because 32 years in government, you always have to answer to somebody.
Right.
And it's kind of a chance to get in a position to be like, I want to be my own boss. Right. I want to make the choices.
Yeah, let me make the decisions around it.
I don't want to say I only get to choose these 2 things off the menu. I want to be able to choose whatever I want.
Absolutely.
So I started doing my own thing. And a couple of years ago, and I had knew about Kim, Kim Anderson, and her success, and just how she was admired in the business. And I had, cut across her path. I just never actually met her. And she contacted me a couple of years ago because she needed a particular consulting done on a contract, a major contract that she had. And I got to know her, and I said, I'll do it contractually. I'll come in and help you for 6 months, and then I'm going to go back to my life. And my life that I had was doing litigation work. So lawsuits against cops, lawsuits in, anything involving law enforcement litigation, use of force, that type of work, expert witness. Because they give me the freedom to come and go as I please. And you kind of, when you reach that point in your life, you get to choose. You really enjoy the option of having a choice. And like my cousin said, I got a check every month the rest of my life.
Right.
I didn't have a worry.
Yep.
So after I started working with her for 2 or 3 months, that experience with her and how I saw how professional, impeccable integrity, straight up, a woman of her word, and how hard she worked to build that company from nothing, from zero to, we're celebrating 25 years as of yesterday.
Yeah.
I was so just in awe of that I'd take a bullet for her.
Yeah.
Well, she called me in and said, I'm really worried. Your contract with me is going to expire in a couple more months, and I'd really like you to stay. And I jumped at the chance.
Isn't that fantastic?
I didn't blink an eye because it's her. And for that, I'll defend, and I'll do what I can to make that work. So
isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, she's an amazing boss, and to come to work every day and have that comfort, kind of what I was used to.
Sure.
With certain people in the police department, you have that comfort zone, and everything's going to be fine.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and just watch how she has built this company. I'm in awe of what she. We have over 500 employees. We got major contracts across the state, and because I'm a process guy, because in the police department everything's process.
Right.
And if you mess up a process, people would get hurt or die.
Yep.
So on the private side, analyzing processes is no big deal to me.
Right.
You take the emotions out of it and who it is, and you go backwards and see where did we fail. Is it training? Is it policy? Is it procedure? Is it the hiring what got us there?
Yep.
And when you take the emotions out of it, because that's what I'm used to, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
I'm having the time of my life every day.
Isn't that fantastic? Well, and it certainly speaks to not only you, but of course to Kim as well. And Chris has obviously known Kim longer than I have, but she is a dear friend, and I completely echo everything you say. She's one of the most upstanding
she is one of a kind.
Women, and just incredibly fortunate to call her a friend. So
yes, indeed.
How wonderful to have found a great new path and a new home.
Yeah.
Now, for you, also stepping into a new career, not at maybe the early onset years, but a little bit later, what would you say was sort of the biggest learning lesson for you stepping into that brand new world?
Well, it's the transition. For me personally, it was transitioning from a guaranteed revenue source, taxpayer money, but also with the understanding you can't mess around with taxpayer money. You end up in prison. To the private side, where the profit and loss and that tends to direct a lot of decisions and a lot of emotions tied to the profit and loss. Well, I'm such an independent person that way. I don't have that urge to do it that way.
Sure.
And I think Kim identified that she knew if she just turned me loose to work on operations and find failures and improve our service and our ability to serve.
Yeah.
She deals with the money.
Yeah.
So it's this great relationship because I don't have to worry. Like I could never do a bid, or I'm not a salesman. I'm not used to going to a company and say, hey, can you buy our product?
Right. That's not your role.
I'm used to showing up and say, here's what we're going to do.
Sure.
And if we need anything, we'll ask you.
Yes.
So, learning that transition of how to be client-based to the ultimate level, because our clients do pay our wages.
Yep.
Taxpayers paid our wages on the government side, but you're not so cautious with that. Right. So it's taught me how to compromise more. It's taught me how to look at the bigger picture, even at a higher level. And it's a learning experience every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you in the space you're in, obviously Anderson does some things differently than others. What would you say is the thing that sets that security company apart from others in that space?
Well, it's Kim's dedication. This has been her whole life. And in fact, I believe recently she was named the 18th largest female-owned company in Arizona.
That's great.
And that dedication that she learned from her dad was iconic in the industry. I actually worked for her dad when I was 18.
Oh, no kidding.
As a security officer.
No kidding.
Didn't know that then, or we found out when I went through the museum and saw Continental Security patch on the wall. I'm like, I was there when I was in between trying to become a police officer.
Isn't that crazy?
So because of her, it makes it just the way she is about dedicating the profit, a majority of the profit back into the organization with benefits. I mean, she literally, of the 500 employees, she loves us individually and as a whole. I mean, literally, she has that connection every time somebody resigns, somebody gets ill. Anything that happens, if they get disciplined, I mean, it affects her emotionally. It really does. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah.
She is truly, the queen bee of the whole organization, if you will, and worries about us. So how can you not be inspired by that?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? How can you not work hard
to
ensure we're doing it? But because of that, she has created numerous aspects of the service we provide that is above what other companies offer. We have a variety of things that we do that other companies don't, and there's no additional charge.
Got it.
Because it's so competitive. You want to have a competitive edge in this private side when you bid against each other. She's found a way to just reinvest that profit back into those competitive edges.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And when you look back on your career, and I guess this goes for really either of you, is there something that you look at that you go, gosh, if I would have done that differently, or I wish I would have, anything that you've learned in terms of the 2020 looking back?
I'll let Chris go first.
I don't know. I don't know if there's anything, certainly hindsight's 2020.
Yep.
Banking was easier, before the recession. There might be some things I would have done differently there.
Yeah.
That one takes some thought, Jody.
Yeah. It's probably
it's a deep question.
Yeah, it's one of those 3 a.m. when you wake up and you go, maybe that was it. And then I guess in the same vein, if things were different then, you wouldn't be where you are today. So there's that whole, it takes all the steps to.
And I think that's the way I would look at it is we are a product of where we've been. Yeah. I mean, I'm way different now than I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Sure.
In my leadership style, in my approach, my patience, my willingness to be humble, communicate, collaborate. I mean, it's all different because of the times you lost or it wasn't successful and you learn how to you just constantly rebuild yourself.
Absolutely.
Based on your experience is what I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's part of the journey. You got to make mistakes to move forward and find success.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as a part of the Leadership Lowdown, there's a series of questions that I love to ask all of our guests. Most importantly, and the reason why is because I think it gives great insight into who you are, and it's obviously playful and fun, but it's also some just great food for thought for our listeners that are a little bit of the out of the box questions that one might not expect. So if you've heard the show before, you may know these, but they originate from a French talk show, and then they were brought to the Bravo network and were a part of a TV show called Inside the Actors Studio, and they would always ask the actors the same series of questions. So if you guys are game and you're up for a little fun, we could do this however you want. Whoever wants to jump in and answer first, but you'll both have the opportunity to answer them all. So we'll start out with this one. What is your favorite word? My favorite word, man. Go ahead, Chris. Well, I think I have so many.
Well, the one lately is more than one. It's is that helpful?
Okay.
And I've been using that a lot around the office. Just when you have disagreements among people, is that helpful? Sometimes that.
Oh, got it. So it's not a question for clarification. It's a more introspective is what we're doing here, helping. Right. Got it. Interesting. I like it.
I think my favorite, not so much a word, but a phrase like in that context would be like, I always say it's a piece of cake. Because I try to just take the sting out of the urgency or the importance, or I have no clue what we're about to do.
Yep, but we got
this.
Piece
of cake. Because, my government side, you have to be able to show confidence to the public even though you're scared to death, or
Absolutely.
there's no way you're going to solve this situation, but we've got this.
Yeah.
In your mind, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. How the heck are we going to solve
I
this?
know for me, I've kind of stuck with that, and I'm known around the office with, it's a piece of cake, right? Yeah, piece of cake. Some people have it written on their board, piece of cake.
Oh, I love it. So it's become your catchphrase.
Yeah, kind
That's
of.
great.
By accident.
That's great. Yeah, by accident.
It was
That's
kind
great.
of a squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. But it works. It works for you and it works for them. So that's what matters. So what would you say is your least favorite word?
Well, profanity, I can say hands down is my least, or I can tell you operationally, it's not my problem. Don't even come in my office and say it's not my problem.
Yeah.
Because that is a cultural thing that I've dealt with my whole career. Because I've always believed, I may not go to your house for dinner. It doesn't matter where we work, but we come through the doors. We both work here. Our shirt says the same, our patch, whatever it is, we're in.
Yeah.
And we have to draw that line. Don't tell me it's not your problem.
Yep.
It's our problem.
Love
Everything is.
Love it. Very much of a we mentality.
Amen.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. How about you?
Well, I think if you ask my staff, it would be no. It's say yes or somebody else will.
Yes. That's a great point. It's a great point. I love that. Love that. Love that. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Oh, I would say my kids, watching them grow, especially at these ages they're at, certainly gets things going.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time.
Do you see a lot of yourself in your kids?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The good and the bad and the
Mostly
ugly.
bad.
You're like, and there's my wife, all the glimmers of hope. No, just teasing.
Thank God for her.
Yeah. That's great. That's great.
That's very true.
How about you, Dan?
I mean, for me, I think spiritually, I just always believed in having a good, solid spiritual base. I think I had to because of the law enforcement side. It was kind of to keep yourself grounded.
Yeah.
Because you can get pretty cynical. Unfortunately, law enforcement's not a profession where we knock on your door and say, wow, you have a really beautiful yard and how's your children?
Right.
We knock on your door because something bad's happened or you're a victim or you're going with us.
Yeah.
It's so negative.
Yeah.
And so I think for me was maintaining a good, solid spiritual base and being the spiritual leader of my family and sharing that experience with other men that are that are professionals, because we all have challenges and a lot of them are the same. So I think for me is a spiritual base.
I love it. I love it. What turns you off?
Negativity. I'm all about you need to be what you say. And people that want to tell you to your face, hey, great deal and no problem helping, and then they're backstabbing you or trashing you or just be honest. Just be honest about it.
Yeah.
I guess integrity, honesty.
Yeah. Owning up.
Lack of it. Yeah. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. I mean, it's not a contest.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, not to copy, but I would say negativity also only because after the recession of 2008, I think one of the things I changed in my life is I stopped really hanging out with anybody or spending time with people that were negative. I controlled what I could control. So negativity is certainly it's not very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and one of the things I admire about you so much in knowing you, and I'm sure, Dan, just from what I've learned is just you mentioned servant leadership, Dan, and I know, Chris, being a Thunderbird and the amount that you give of your time and heart to organizations that mean a lot to you. Leading the Executive Association of Greater Phoenix, I know there's a lot of things that you've impacted so deeply in the time that you've committed, which is speaks volumes to your character and integrity. And much like you said too, it's stepping away from the negativity and saying, okay, if that's happening, how can I make a difference and be that catalyst for change? So I commend you both for that, because that's the thing that is a driving force for me. So I love seeing it in others. So thank you for that. So this one, Dan, I don't know, you're not going to want to participate in this one, but so you can opt out if you so choose, but I'll direct it at Chris. Here we go. What's your favorite curse word? Cover your ears, Dan. Okay. And it's internet radio. So, we are broadcasting live and it will live in infamy, but you can share whatever you want.
Well, sometimes a good old-fashioned F word gets the point
across. It just punctuates it exactly how you need.
If used improperly, not so much.
Right. When needed and when used appropriately. That's fudge, Dan. Fudge.
But see, I use that. I say fudge-sickle. If I say fudge-sickle, that
you know stuff is going down.
I can go cop in 2 seconds. And all I have to do, I can say pretty much pink bow. Right. If I have that look.
Right. Yeah. So as a cop, you never swore.
Oh, heavens, yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
I did. Oh, are you kidding?
Okay, I was going to say, wow, if this is like
really trying to catch a murder suspect at gunpoint and tell him to step out of the car with the shoulder in your hand. You're not going to say sir, can you please, when time allows, would you step out?
It'd really be great if when you got to it.
Well, I called it role playing. So I was just playing a part.
Yep.
No. I just there's no need to always use profanity, And of course I slip it once in a while.
Yeah.
I'm still, I'm animated and I'm, competitive and passionate. And I just try to say different words. I've had some pretty cute ones. I say horse boobs. I say fudgesicle.
Horse.
Well, I mean, something is...
That's what I've never heard of. I'm going with that one. I'm saying that's your favorite because horse boobs is awesome.
It just makes you stop.
I want to hear that in context.
It does. It does. My quest for you, Chris Baker, is I want to hear you use horse boobs sometime in the next week, and I want to know the context in which it was shared. Yeah, no. I just want to hear. I just want to hear that challenge.
I'll see you Thursday morning.
Nice, perfect. I'm expecting it. Oh my gosh, I love it. What sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise?
Mm-hmm.
That's Chris. You go first.
Well, I bought a Harley when I turned 50, so that's kind of a great sound.
That's the one. What kind of Harley?
I bought a Breakout, CVO Breakout.
Okay. And do you ride it a lot?
I do up in Flagstaff.
Yeah. Awesome.
Not in Phoenix, up in Flagstaff.
Yeah. So the sound of that bad boy?
Yeah, that works.
That's awesome.
Well, that's a close one. I've got a Harley as well, and a 2-in-1 Bassani header. That's a pretty good sound.
That's a good sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That potato sound at that level.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good sound.
So on the flip side of that coin, what sound or noise do you hate?
Fingernails on a chalkboard. Anything screechy.
Yeah.
Oh, screechy.
Yeah. I was wondering if you were going to say sirens, but...
No. No.
Fingernails down a chalkboard.
Yeah, just that screech. Anything screechy.
Yeah. How about you, Chris?
I don't know. The alarm clock's no fun sometimes.
Yeah. Are you the hit snooze a few multiple times?
I'm a 2-3 timer.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. What profession other than your own would you love to attempt? Skill and talent aside.
Oh, I want to play in the NFL.
Oh, okay.
I want to be a football player.
Nice.
Oh, football and rodeo. That's all I know.
Football and rodeo.
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, I stop with one. I love it. Dream big. That's awesome. How about you, Chris?
This is all I ever wanted to do, really. But consulting sounds exciting as the years come.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Consulting in your particular space?
Yeah,
or
some of this, that we've been talking about today. And, I think if you can help people achieve their goals, you get to a certain age in life and you start realizing it's, you see your own mortality. And it'd be nice to, to help others.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. It's great. And what profession would you not like to do? Ever?
Firefighter.
Firefighter.
Hands down.
So cop okay, firefighter not so much.
Absolutely. I'll take a bullet any day because you can fight back. I've been near fire. A fire is a raging monster that has an attitude that's really bad.
Yeah.
During my PD career, I oversaw the training for the police department.
Sure.
Well, we had a combination police-fire training.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the firefighter staff that was there would always come over and want us to take them to the range to shoot the machine guns or give us a ride in a helicopter and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said, no, I want to go in one of those live burn things you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, never again.
Wow.
I'm so grateful for what they do. There's no way that fire is it makes the most amazing noise, and the heat is not tolerable.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought my suit, I thought it was bad because it was, when you're standing by a campfire and your backside gets hot and you turn, that's how it feels the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'll take a bullet any day.
Interesting. So interesting. First-hand experience there. How about you?
I don't know. I'm a red meat guy, but I don't think I could ever be a butcher.
Yeah.
I sometimes look at those guys behind the counter and
not so much.
Not so much.
Oh my gosh, this is funny. I'm learning so much about you both. I love it. So we'll end with this one. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well done.
Nice, Mr. Baker.
Indeed, well done.
Yeah.
Because I always relate that to the first thing he's going to do is hit play.
I doubt that's what he's going to say.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Well, I always
that's
relate.
the ideal.
I always relate for myself is be careful what you do when nobody can see, because I believe God's going to start the video the minute you get there.
Yeah.
He's going to hit play and then stop and go, what was this?
Yeah, exactly. Well, back up. What happened here in 1984?
Recorded in my head.
Yeah, see, it's probably a good thing the internet wasn't around when you guys were a little younger.
I want to have answers to all those video pauses. Yeah.
Right. A nice little asterisk explanation of each of those. So for our listeners, one of the things that I love to leave them with is that nugget, that word of wisdom. If there's young people out there or business owners that are successful and looking to get to that next level, what's that word of wisdom, that piece of advice that you would love to share with them?
Well, a few things. Team. You got to have a team around you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about the people you're with, and then secondly, perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
Never ever give up. It's you never know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people either don't try
Mm-hmm.
or never start, or
Mm-hmm.
they give up too early.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love the fact that that's something that you not only have taught your team, but the one inside your own home as well. So it seems to be the hallmark of your creation. So
Thanks,
I love it. I love it. How about you, Dan?
For me, it was very clearly defined. This very issue was defined for me when I retired from the police department. So you have the big gathering. My daughters got up and spoke, and community members and PD people, because your kids don't see you grow up.
Sure.
They don't see what you do. They
Right.
just know dad goes to work and comes home and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So my youngest daughter, when they were up there, giving experiences and giving stories and talking about me during my career, my youngest daughter leaned over and she said, "Wow, Dad, they know you just like we do." So for me, that defining moment, that's the brass ring.
Yeah.
That what you see right now, if you came to my house tonight and had dinner, it'd be the same guy.
Exactly.
Be who you are
Yep.
and be what you say.
Yep. Yep. That resonates so true for me, Dan, specifically. One of my core values, I have 3 of them, and one of them is authenticity. And I get very hung up on the false pretenses and acting as if, and I don't buy into any of that. Just like, be who you are, wear your heart out on your sleeve, and that's just who you
It
are,
really
you know?
is.
And if that's
Because
really
you
the
have
core
nothing
of,
else.
Yeah,
We used to
absolutely.
tell the recruits in the police academy, I'd stand there in front of them every time we have a new class, and I'd say, "We're going to teach you everything about this career.
Yeah.
The thing I can't teach is integrity.
Yes. Yes.
That you either have it or you don't.
Yep.
And that's part of who you are. It's your character.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I never learned the secret handshake. I'm just a blue collar guy, and I just happened to end up in the police business, and now I'm in private security.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Obviously, a career well laid out, whether it was planned or not. So you're in the right space. That's all that matters. And if any of our listeners are looking to connect with you or learn more about your companies or your background, what's the best way to connect? Is it a LinkedIn or an email, or what can we leave them with?
Chris, I'll let you go first.
Website is www.creativepnp.com.
PNP. Love it.
And we're AndersonSecurity.com. We've got Facebook, LinkedIn. That's our company website. Has all our services are available and bios and everything that we do.
Perfect. Well, I can't thank you both enough for making time in your crazy busy lives and schedules for being here. Like I said, it's my joy to be able to share your stories with the world. And I think they're the most important stories to share for those up and comers, as well as established businesses that are looking for that new insight, that new realization, something to spark them to keep moving forward. So I really thank you both for being here and being a part
Thanks
of it
for
all.
having me, Jody. Jody, it was fun.
Absolutely. Well, you have been listening to the Leadership Lowdown, hosted by me, Jody Lowe, and powered by You and Improved and Conscious Capitalism, Arizona. At You and Improved, we are passionate about partnering with companies' leadership to develop their most valuable asset, which is, of course, their people. To learn more about our personal and professional development classes and trainings, visit us at youandimproved.com, or you can contact me at jody@youandimproved.com. And I thank you all for listening, and we look forward to talking with you soon.